Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Caspian. I do have a bit of a sore throat. I've been talking a lot today, so hopefully I don't have to cough or anything, but I have a nice cup of tea here and I have some water and I'm going to be talking about three books today. The last three that I've read, and the first one I'm going to talk about is Foxglove, and I actually returned it to the library before making this video, like quite a while ago, actually, or a few days ago. And I didn't really think about it. I didn't really think about it until afterwards. I was like, oh no. So this is Foxglove. It's the second book in the. What's the series called? I do have, let's see, I have. Oh, is it called the Belladonna series, or is the first book just Belladonna? Anyway, so this is Foxglove by Adeline Grace. So now you've seen the cover. So oh my, okay, so Foxglove. mm, so in the book we follow um oh, maybe I have to rate this even lower than I did, because I don't really remember the plot, and that's not a good thing. That's not good for a book when it comes to rating from my part. Okay, so in this series we follow Signa, who is who has a close relationship with death. All right. So in the first book in the series, we followed Signa and her relationship with death as it evolved and as she discovered her abilities when it comes to death. And because she has some abilities. So it's a fantasy. I would almost call it a fantasy romance, but I'm not sure. Maybe I would call it a fantasy romance. And it's a gothic kind of vibe to it. So a lot of people that enjoy these books enjoy the gothic vibe of of the setting in the stories, and I do as well. I do enjoy that. Um, so in this book, Foxglove, so the name is kind of for the first half of the book, or maybe more. I thought that the name was kind of misleading because Foxglove is the name of Cygnus mansion that she's supposed to move to when she inherits it. So she doesn't really move there right away, not as fast as it doesn't. The setting is not Foxglove for that much of the book, so it was kind of disappointing. It does kind of revolve around her going there and other things, but there are so many other things happening that I'm not really sure why it's called. But I don't think the title was correct. All right, there are so many other things they could have called this book, and it would have felt more, because I enjoy when the title of a book and the cover of a book, it corresponds with what's inside of the book in the story. So that's just one of the things that kind of drew the ranking down for me a little bit. So in this book we follow Signa and Death, but we also follow Death's brother Fate, and we also see more of Blythe, which is Signa's cousin that she helped in the first book when she was sick. So I don't want to talk about too much about the plot, because if you want to read the book, I don't want to spoil anything for you. But I can say like this: the first half of the book I wanted to DNF it because it was so slow, and I was like, can something just happen? Can they just get to it? And I even wrote on Fable that I'm like, is it getting any better, guys? Is this what? That was kind of the vibe of my post on Fable. Like halfway through, I was like, oh. And then people were responding with, "Oh, it does get better," and especially like the third book is supposed to be much better than the second book. That's what I got from all the comments. So I decided to, one big part of why I decided to finish the book was that I wanted to have read it because I want to enjoy the last book in the series. They got my hopes up for the last book in the series, or the trilogy, Wisteria. So another reason that I continued reading the book, even though I felt so bored, on the verge of like a rut, a reading, not just a reading slump, but a rut or something like that, was that I did have hope for it to pick up in the last few, like in the second half of the last third. I would say that somewhere between halfway through and a third, 2/3 through the book, it did pick up a little bit, and it became more. I enjoyed it a bit more, definitely. So, with keeping in mind that I wanted to DNF it, and I think I did rate it a 3-star on Fable. I haven't put it up on my Goodreads yet, so, but I did give it a 3-star. I think maybe I want to pull it down a little bit because I don't remember that much of it. I remember much more of the first story than I do of the second one, even though it was just like a week ago that I finished it or something like that. So maybe I want to give it like 2.5 stars, or maybe even 2 stars. So on Fable and in my app that I use on my phone, I will probably give it a 2.5. But on Goodreads, I will give it a 2 stars. Do I really? I have to think a little bit about that because it wasn't as enjoyable as the first one, and it did kind of made me feel like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? And I don't want that when I read a story. I want to be immersed into it. I want to feel like I'm a part of it. And I just got so sick of Signa and Death and their relationship, and I was like, that's like a romance that could have been put in any other setting, and it was just like any frustrating romance. And I didn't enjoy their relationship as much. As I said, the book picked up towards the end of the book. So for me, this was a means to getting from book 1 to book 3, unfortunately. So yeah, I think I'm gonna give it a 2-star. I'm trying to be more like intentional about my ranking, my rating of the books this year, because last year I read so many great books, but it was also like, oh, this is a 4-star, oh, this is a 5-star, like that. And this year I'm trying to do two things: more intentional with my rating, really thinking through it a bit more, and then the second thing I want to do this year is DNF books that I don't like, which is harder when it's a series, but I don't want to be regretting that I read it or that and I don't want to be, I don't want, when a book almost puts me in a reading slump, that's kind of my breaking point. So, yeah, that's Foxglove for you. And then I'm going to talk about another book because it took me a couple of days. So I started reading one nonfiction book that I haven't finished yet. And I that almost put me even more in a reading slump. And I was like, why, what, dude? And I was starting to think, is it me? Is this time of year just putting me in a reading slump? Is January my reading slump month? So I read the nonfiction book a bit slower, and I was like, I don't have time for this. I need to not put myself, because I felt like I had like this demand on myself to read that as quick as possible, but I did actually borrow it, like extend my loan, because I was like, I'm not gonna get through this. So when I had done that, I continued to read this book that I'm gonna talk a bit about soon, the Third House of Night book. So I read that a little bit along with the nonfiction, kind of slowed it down a little bit, and released kind of the tension around having to finish the nonfiction book, because it didn't really have to go back to the library as soon as I first because when I first borrowed it, it had a 2-week loan, but I could extend it. So I did that, and it was like I started to release the tension around it. So then I finally picked up this one, which I knew nothing about going into it. I only remembered that 2 or 3 YouTubers, booktubers, recommended it or talked about it, and I was like, oh, that sounds amazing. So I didn't remember any of the story going into it. I just remembered feeling excited about it. And this one I read in 2 days. I'm not joking. It's 474, no, 374 pages. And I read it in 2 days. This just flew by. But the thing is also, right, it was so frustrating, and it almost gave me, it didn't give me nightmares, but it was like it got a hold on me, and I was so tense all the way through it that I just wanted to finish it so I could release all the tension. Just release the tension around it. Because this was horrible. It wasn't horrible in the way that I hated it, but it's a horrible story. So this is a story about 2 addicts. We have what's his face? Low, or Lauren, Loren, or Low, and then we have Lily. So we have Lily and Lauren, and they have known each other since they were children, and they are both addicts. Lily is addicted to sex, so she is a sex addict. Low is an alcoholic, so he's addicted to alcohol. And when they started college, so he's been like addicted to alcohol since his early teens, and she has been addicted to sex for several years before they start college. And when they start college, they make a pact that they are gonna have a fake relationship outwards so that they can keep each other's secrets. So they take care of each other and support each other in indulging in their addictions, which is so destructive. It's like the most destructive way of life that I've ever read about. And it was so, all the way through the book, I was just so frustrated with how they handled life and how they handled their relationships. And then it is like a friends to lovers story. So it even says here, like 2 best friends, liars, lovers, addicts, one epic love story. So Addicted to You by Kristen Becker Ritchie. And after I had read this, I found out that they are actually identical twins writing this book together, or this series. Because when I open it up, I see a list on a lot of books. So they have like, it says here, Addicted series, recommended reading order. And then it's like Addicted 1, 2, and 3. Spin-off, The Calloway Sisters 1, 2. And then Addicted 4. And then Addicted 5. Calloway Sisters 3. Calloway Sisters 4. So it's a reading order where you read first 3 Addicted books, then 2 Calloway Sisters, then 2 Addicted, and then 2 Calloway Sisters. So there's a lot of books. And you know what? I want to read them all. Because this is a 4-star for me, because I don't feel like I want to read it again. I'm so I would not have the stamina, or I think my heart would go out. I think I would just crumble to pieces from the tension and the lack of releasing the tension until the book's over. It would probably, I think, now that I know the storyline, I would probably be bored, maybe, if I read it again, because I would be like, oh, okay, yeah, right. That's when they made this bad decision, and then this bad decision, and I would just be like, don't you ever effing learn? So I don't want to read this again, so it's a 4-star for me. But I do want to continue the series, and actually, as soon as I put this down, I signed up on the waiting list for the second book that's called Ricochet. It has kind of a purple cover, I think. So, sorry again for my voice. So, on the back it says, no one would suspect shy Lily Calloway's biggest secret. While everyone is dancing at college bars, Lily stays in her bathroom to get laid. Her compulsion leads her to one-night stands, steamy hookups, and events she shamefully regrets. The only person who knows her secret happens to have one of his own. Lauren Hale's best friend is his bottle of bourbon. Lily comes a close second. For 3 years, they pretended to be in a real relationship, hiding their addictions from their families. They've mastered the art of concealing flasks and random guys who filter in and out of their apartment. But as they sink beneath the weight of their addictions, they cling harder to their destructive relationship and wonder if a life together for real is better than a life. Why does it end in the middle of a sentence? No, it's better than a lie. Okay. Mm. So they wonder if a life together for real is better than a lie. Strangers and family begin to infiltrate their guarded lives, and with new challenges, they realize they may not be addicted to just alcohol and sex. The real vice may be each other. So I enjoyed this, guys. I really enjoyed it. I did enjoy it. It was a bit fast paced for me, but it was so fast paced. I just wanted it to be over because it was like riding on a highway and being like, that's kind of how I felt all the way through the book. It was just, but it was addicting. It was addicting. So I'm kind of addicted to this series now. So I hope the next one is as good as this one. I feel like maybe the Addicted series is going to be about different how they cope with their addictions and how their life evolves around it, or their attempt to be what the see the temp of the book is affecting me right now so much that I can't speak coherently. They are trying, I think the Addicted series may be about like the addiction and the struggle to cope and the struggle to get sober from their addictions. I don't know, because there's like 4 or 5 addicted books. 5. And then the Calloway sisters, because Lily has 3 sisters, right? So I do look forward to getting to know her sisters a bit more, that you get to know them a little bit in this book, but not dive deep into them because it's about Lily. So I do look forward to that. It's going to be an interesting journey. But now I'm going to put this down. It's like it's almost burning in my hands from the pace of it. I just want to put it down and be done with it. Just want to return it to the library. I'm probably going to do that tomorrow. I don't want it in my house anymore. So, yeah, something like that. The last book, so 4-star. So this is the last book I'm going to talk about today. And this is the 3rd book in the House of Night series. This is the more common, like, pocket-sized books are more common in Sweden than the bigger paperbacks. So this, I'm gonna see what this is called in English. I think it's Chosen. Yes, Chosen, the third book in the House of Night series. So, uh, how am I gonna start talking about this? Me and my partner went to see a friend up north, like a weekend ago. Not this past weekend, but the weekend before. And I was joking about this book and how I didn't know if I wanted to DNF this as well. So, because this is so, if I continue this series, I read it once before. So this is a reread, but I read it like 5-7 years ago or something. This came out in 2009, I think. It came out in 2009. So if I continue this series, I give it a 3-star, by the way. It would only be because I want to know the ending. That's kind of why I picked it up again, because I didn't read all of the books back then. So I had a few more to go. And now I'm trying to reread the entire story so that I won't miss anything until I get to like book 8. That's where I left off last time, 7 or 8. So if I read this, it's more of this. It's only because I want to know what happens. And I remember it fondly from back then. Now when I'm reading it, I'm getting more and more just fed up with Zoe, the main character Zoe. So in this series, we follow Zoe. She's been marked as a vampire and she is learning how to become a vampire, waiting for her big change into a grown vampire. So she's in school at the House of Night. She has friends there that are also beginner vampires. They're all going to school and learning how to deal with their abilities and what they are becoming and that sort of thing. And Zoe has the ability to connect with all 5 elements, and she is the head of what's it called in English? Because I'm reading this in Swedish. It's called Nattens döttrar. Is that the Daughters of the Night, maybe? Like a sorority almost. And she holds like full moon ceremonies and that sort of thing. And we follow her and her friends, and they are, exploring everything, and they're just growing up. They're supposed to be growing up. And I'm just getting sick of her personality and the way it's written, in the sense that we jump from situation to situation, and in between these situations, we follow her train of thought almost, and I'm just sick of her boy problems. I'm sick of her being such a typical teenager. And I don't mean necessarily teenagers of today. I mean teenagers of when I was a teenager. And the language in this book, that I'm so getting sick and tired of the language in this book. Especially the part where they have to just emphasize how gay everyone is. That is gay. Like, oh, he came in with a scarf around his neck. And I don't remember like the wording, but it was on because it's gay, or just the way gays do it. And I'm like, please. So in Swedish, it's, if I translate the Swedish wording of things, it's like, as the homosexual he is, he came gliding into the room, or something like that. So I don't know if in the English version, the original, if they use the words gay or homosexual. I don't know, because we use the word gay in Sweden as well, but that's just it. We learned it from the English language, because the homosexual, the word for that is homosexual, and that's kind of yeah. And we have our own word for gay that is more of a slur. So that's not what we would use in a book if that word was to be in here. No one would read it. Yeah, maybe they would have before. So I'm a little bit, when you read a book and it's a book of its time, and you're just over and done with it. I'm just like the beginning of the century is over. We have evolved. Can I please just read books with evolved language? Can I please just not have to deal with, oh, he's so homosexual. Oh, he's so vivid. He's so expressively gay. He does that because he's gay. Just no. No, 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 no. And that's not all. There are situations where they just press on the stereotype so much in an overly kind of way that you're like, okay, you can just quit this now because it's just over the top. So everything has to be over the top, and they are so expressive with being so gay friendly and LGBTQ friendly, and in a way that you're like, are you trying to convince me? Are the writers trying to convince me that they are queer friendly? Or because it's like, is it the character? But if it was the character, she convinced me in the first book. She doesn't need to be this is expressive about it in her thoughts in the third book. Please, can she evolve a bit quicker? Please. So if I were to continue this series, it would be because I want to know what happens. I think because I've read this before and I'm just trying to get through it, I already know what's happening, like in this book and in the next and the next after that. And I that's why I'm more frustrated and annoyed and more aware of how the book is written. And I don't like it. I don't like it. So yeah, this is a 3-star because I did kind of enjoy it, but I did give the first and the second book a 3-star as well, I think. So maybe this is a 2.5-star because I did have to struggle with this one. The other ones I was just reading and enjoying, and I could deal with everything in the writing, even though I was just a bit like, oh my, this is so 2010, or 2000, I don't know. This is so 2000. But with this one, I actually stopped reading it for a while. I've been reading this for like 3 weeks or something, and that's not like me. So maybe a 2-star for this third book because I do contemplate DNF in the series. So it's a big emphasis on if I continue it. And I will probably let you know in time, at the latest, at the end of the year, when I tell you if I finished this series or not. So yeah. Yep. Thank you so much. So Fox Club, 2 stars. Addicted to You, 4 stars. House of Night, third book, Chosen, 2 stars. The February is not starting off well. Fox Club I read in January. This one I read completely in February, and this one I finished yesterday. So I finished it in February, but I've been reading it all the way to January almost. Okay, guys, so that's it for this time. I'm gonna make a video about the January wrap up, and I'm gonna make a video about my February TBR. So I probably won't return this until I've talked about that, because this was on my February TBR. So yeah, I will see you in my next video. Walk in beauty, happy reading, and have a lovely, lovely day. Tjingeling!